where your website appears in search is a rank that's relative to the other stuff going for the same keyword. So, I mean, you could have, let's just say you had a site done 5 years ago, whatever, and it worked fine, and you were number one in whatever town you're in for major plumbing keywords, and you thought everything was great, and then one day, somebody's above you. And, well, where did he come from? That guy didn't exist. He just opened up 6 months. He just opened up a month ago or whatever. And you're freaking out, and it's not fair. But what that guy did is he called somebody like us, or maybe us, and we did it properly. And Google looked at it and said, well, this one's been here a while, and it's okay, but this one's a lot better.
He did more than you.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
He did more than you. And the analogies that are great is that they got a better grade on many different categories. Their horse ran faster. Had a guy call. I've told this one story a few months back, but it reminded me of him. And this guy called, and he was a nice enough guy. And he said, and he started dogging his competitor who was number one in the market. And he said, well, I want to be up here like this guy. I want to beat this guy. He said, I know this guy. You know, I know who he is. I said, he's a friend of yours? He's like, no, the guy's a jerk, and really he's kind of dumb. Hey guys, it's Nolan and Jason here with Plumbing Webmasters.
Howdy.
We're going to talk about 3 reasons your plumbing website is sandboxed. And so gosh, sandboxed is a term from old school optimization when it was even more Wild West than it is today.
Yeah, it was seriously wild.
Yeah, and they didn't tell us what to do. There was no Google Webmaster rules. You just got penalized out of nowhere. And it was a term that I think kind of meant you send the bad kids at the playground to the sandbox, right?
Right. They put you in your own little sandbox so you couldn't hurt anybody else or infect anything.
I was a little kid and I got put in the sandbox. I think I'd be pretty happy about it.
I was, right? But I was a strange kid.
So if you get stuck in the sandbox, though, that was bad news. That was a term that was really popular back then, right?
Yeah.
So we would we would be doing stuff, and we didn't know no one even knew there was rules when we were doing this stuff.
Yeah.
So people were making text white the same color as the background.
Yeah, and filling it with keywords.
Stuffing it full of keywords, and that would sandbox you. Or title tags that were 500 words long.
Yeah, with every keyword possible, like just a comma-separated list of every keyword you want.
And you know what's funny about it? These things actually worked early on.
Oh yeah. They worked great.
But
anybody that tells you that they never did anything like that is lying.
Anybody's been around long enough.
Everybody did it.
It's helpful to have been around long enough to watch it all transpire. I mean, nowadays it's very squeaky clean Boy Scout work, and we do like high-end skilled labor that gets graded by the search engine so that somebody shows up.
Right.
So it's more like a professional service that gets done. The problem is that everybody lies about it, and then they don't do the work, and then somebody pays money a plumber pays money, got into the work, they don't show up, and then the plumber wonders why they don't show up, but it's because the guy sold them but didn't do any work. Or
if he did anything, he did something nasty.
Yeah,
like he slammed in links or something like that.
I don't think nasty stuff happens anymore, because J-Matt doesn't like that talk anymore, and I kind of agree. We got a really smart guy here that, and we really don't believe that penalties occur anymore to speak of.
Yeah.
It's more like, I don't. We're going to talk about that here in a minute, because the HGR is a term from human Google reviewer versus an algorithmic penalty.
Right.
And I don't even think the word algorithmic penalty is even appropriate anymore.
Yeah, the algorithm doesn't hand out penalties. If your site is penalized in any way, then an actual human being at Google has decided to. It could probably
still get penalized. Recently we heard, and by the way, this was this isn't even one of the 3. But recently we heard that if you're in a popular category and in a dense market with lots of other people doing this, so they might not like your city pages, right?
Right.
What Google referred to as a doorway page. Now, if you're in a rural market, they may not have content for all the little cities, and it may be okay.
Right.
But if you had a densely populated market and you're full of trash content city pages, then that might actually be an algorithmic penalty, of sorts. And
the debate that he and I are having right here is actually. That debate goes on here every day, and it goes on in every company like this.
No, it doesn't.
But well,
they're not
any decent ones.
Yeah.
But
okay, so like a dozen or
yeah, because everybody's trying. Because by the way, Google doesn't tell us this stuff. We have to figure it out based on trial and error mostly. And so there's a lot of these talks that happen because we're trying to figure out what Google is doing at any given moment.
We're like a chicken in a box at the state fair, where you learn how to throw in a make a basket with a tiny basketball and get fed a pellet.
Yeah.
If you don't do it, you get shocked. If you do it, you get rewarded.
That's a wonderful metaphor for my life.
That's what I feel like. Don't you ever feel like that, though?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like we get shocked and then we go to the other place, but. I mean, we do a lot of high-end stuff. The argument is like, is there really a sandbox or a penalty anymore, or is it just credit for good stuff and have they figured out all bad stuff?
Right.
I think if the site's bad, it's more of just a recognition that it's bad instead of a penalty. You know what I mean?
I like to say it's a lack of credit rather than a penalty.
Right.
Yeah.
So, because back in the day, it was a clear penalty. You'd just go boom and go to like page 10.
Yeah, you'd be number 2, number 1, and all of a sudden you'd disappear.
You could see like a 5-point penalty. You'd go 1-6 or 1-11.
Yeah.
You know, 2-13.
That was the big indicator. If you went to 11 or 12, you had a 10-point penalty.
Right.
They basically knocked you off the front page.
Or you could even be worse and go to like 100 points and you see yourself on page 11. So those days are kind of over. But you either have like credibility or not, and if it's something that's against the rules, and you can have other penalties, by the way, like your map location isn't legitimate and it gets taken down.
Right.
I mean, that's a direct thing that can just be like, well, that was a virtual office. I was told it was okay. Well, it was okay.
It was okay. Now it's not. We actually, by the way, in a very rare occurrence, fairly recently, we had direct confirmation from Google that they're considering virtual offices the same thing as P.O. boxes. So they're a no-no for addresses for local optimization.
One of the operators just said it verbally, so that's pretty aggressive on their part.
Yeah, normally they won't tell you anything.
Yeah.
So
if you have like, some of the things like lack of web presence, so that might be related to citations. So you're just really a ghost and not found. You know? Lack of reviews is something that could be this. So again, public hasn't rallied behind you for support on like a Google review. I always get people say, well, I've got 387 reviews from Angie's List or Home Advisor, and it's like they will actually give you some credit for these external reviews, but if you had none on your Google account, it's not good, and you can't transfer these other reviews to another platform.
Right.
And not any other platform that's worth anything on search engine anyway, right?
Yeah.
So, and then, general poor quality, like that's another thing. So I don't, like I said, is it a sandbox? I don't know. But if you have a site that's 99% of sites are poor quality templates, agree? So we look at them every day. People call up here and then we look at them not because they always ask. We've talked about this before. It's because they're like, very subtly defiant about it.
Yeah.
Well, I just had this put up.
I spent a lot of money.
I just paid.
No,
for
that's
this.
custom.
Yeah, they said it was custom.
Yeah.
And it's obvious. And frankly, if they were honest with themselves, you can some of the 80% of the templates you can tell they're a template. Just by looking at it, you have a template, and 20% are actually kind of
I look in the code to confirm, but most of the time I can tell.
The person that bought it that's telling that it's custom, could, if they're honest with themselves, can tell it's a template.
Yeah.
The potential client knows it's a template, but says that it's not,
Yeah.
And so the problem with it is that there's all sorts of high-end code base. Like we have over 100 points of schema. We talk about all the time because we're the only company that does it that we've ever found.
Right.
And that helps Google parcel data as opposed to this cheap template with cruddy, junked up code base that they have to guess where everything is. Right. So that's not good. And then if you had it go up and never get worked on and have poor quality content, well, that's not good either. So is it penalized? Nah, it's just a really horrible website and web presence.
Right. It's just getting no credit.
It's getting the credit that it deserves through the algorithm.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's getting placed where it rightfully deserves to be. I would argue that even somebody up here and they're like, well, the thought is that you're penalized. You probably just haven't had any great effort done long enough to have anything happen.
Right.
If anybody's watching this and they're like, I'm pretty sure I'm penalized. Nah, you just got a bad website, bad content never works on. You may never have paid enough to have anything worked on. I think that's pretty common.
Yeah.
Why people don't is like crazy to me. To go along in business and not pay for the largest marketing method and the free grab of leads ever available in human history is like, doesn't make any
insane.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'll spend thousands and thousands and all this other stuff, but I won't optimize my website because it's voodoo and I just don't think I can. And it's nothing but huge guys up there. It's just not true.
Right.
So the huge guys a lot of times are screwing up with some sorry in-house marketer, right?
Right.
Not doing things properly.
The thing that's important to remember is that where your website appears in search is a rank that's relative to the other stuff going for the same keyword. So, you could have, let's just say you had a site done 5 years ago, whatever, and it worked fine, and you were number one in whatever town you're in for major plumbing keywords, and you thought everything was great, and then one day, somebody's above you. And, well, where did he come from? That guy didn't exist. He just opened up 6 months. He just opened up a month ago or whatever. And you're freaking out, and it's not fair. But what that guy did is he called somebody like us, or maybe us, and we did it properly. And Google looked at it and said, well, this one's been here a while, and it's okay, but this one's a lot better.
He did more than you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He did more than you, and the analogies that are great is that they got a better grade on many different categories. Their horse ran faster. Had a guy call. I've told this one story a few months back, but it reminded me of him. And this guy called, and he's a nice enough guy, and he said, and he started dogging his competitor who was number one in the market. And he said, well, I want to be up here like this guy. I want to beat this guy. He said, I know this guy. I know who he is. I said, he's a friend of yours? He's like, no, the guy's a jerk, and really he's kind of dumb. And I'm like, okay. And I'm talking right, and I'm looking at it, and I'm talking to him, and I'm looking at the website, and I'm like, well, he's doing some things right. I said, you say he's a dumb guy? He said, yeah, he's not the sharpest guy. I said, well, he's pretty sharp on his marketing. He's working.
He's at least smart enough to hire somebody good to do his marketing.
Yeah. Not that to rag on anybody calling by any means. I never heard from this guy again.
Yeah.
This guy's. I didn't ever bother to write it down and remember who he was or go check on him. But I can guarantee he's not in top search ranking.
Right.
Now he's sitting there dogging. There's an old saying you're not supposed to dog stuff you want to become.
Right.
If you down that what you wish to become, you've denounced it in your brain somehow.
Right.
This guy's talking about this guy and the way that he was kind of ridiculous because this other guy optimized and he didn't. And so, but the point is that, if you have somebody in your market who decided to get marketing savvy and fight for it and begin to work on it, you're the guy doing that now. And listen, the guy that's already up in ranking doesn't watch the video. Right.
Right.
So you're that guy that's like, okay, now I'm going to get serious.
Yeah, you're the guy that's going to take their spot.
Yeah, you can take a spot as long as you get a better grade, or as long as you run the horse faster, and stuff like this. My website, because normally, seriously, people think something's wrong, and it's really that what's wrong is they haven't gotten aggressive enough. It is kind of it is tiring. Like we're both a little off today because we're
both tired,
and it may be from kids and stuff and lack of sleep.
My son's hitting a growth spurt and he's not sleeping at night.
Well, my wife's out of town and I had to take care of my older children, which isn't as tough as he's got a child that's much younger.
I've got a 4-year-old.
Younger than you should.
I've got a 4-year-old and I'm almost 50. So I was stupid.
Yeah. Oh, that's all right. That's fine, man. Those kids are always pretty good kids with older parents, right? Yeah. We're a little older parents, too.
He is a good
We're
kid.
not as old as you as parent, but we're older parents.
Look at that. We're not as old as your
We're still older parents, though, We didn't have kids until we were like 30, 31, but I mean, you have people showing up that are way younger. But anyway, so when you're doing this stuff, though, you've really got to get a savvy team to help you. There are some things that you can do better, but if you try to do all the stuff that we do, you'll miss all the points that we can get for you.
Right.
You just will. And so you can get reviews, but we can set up the reviews better. We can include widgets and dashboards and ways for you to text people. but we can't ask them for the review. You can do some of the social postings better, but we can manage the social ad spend better.
Right.
We can have a more logical approach to it. It's one of the things that that one gets me, the social portion of it.
Yeah.
I think 99% of the money spent on Facebook is just dumb spend.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
With absolutely no foresight of where you are and where you want to be and how you're going to get there.
So, look, there's the boost button.
There's the
Facebook
boost
made
button.
it easy. When Facebook makes
Yeah.
it easy, they're just taking your money.
Yeah,
They make it easy so that you're not careful.
Yeah, do your social media, but because people do that, doesn't make them the marketing person for it.
Right,
You know,
right.
we don't charge much for that part of it because we set up spend and we set up a campaign, and then we set up whatever and get a logical approach to it and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. You
Right.
know? But that's a whole different one.
That's a whole different
Yeah.
podcast.
We've got one on that actually coming up for HVAC, I believe. It's one we didn't finish last week. I still
okay.
need to do. So anyway, most of you guys are not penalized. If you're penalized, I'm shocked. And if you do have a penalty, it's not like old days. It's like fixed like
Right,
that.
right.
So penalties, I haven't seen anybody in years that has at least 2 years that has had a penalty through Penguin. Penguin.
Oh, like bad link penalties?
Bad link
Yeah.
penalties. Essentially, they just know all the bad linking.
Yeah,
they don't
just,
penalize you.
They just don't give you credit for those links if they're bad.
Yeah, because what happened was there was a reciprocal issue where the negative SEO tax began.
Yeah.
And so as soon as Penguin came out, within a year or two, they had that figured out because people were getting negative SEO attacked.
Right.
So they had to change that one. And then if it's let's say you have a dupe content issue with a bunch of cruddy city pages, or you've thrown in zip codes on all your pages, or just done something, or you have shallow to no content, well, we can fix that as soon as it's respidered. Pretty quick, it's going to be done. Let's
Right.
say that you have a 404 issue, and you have that's another one, and that somebody redid your website, and like I don't know, we talked about this guy on this one or the one before. I think we talked about it on one before, but a guy calls up and says,
Oh, yeah.
says, "Oh, my rankings are all down. I know. I had my website." It's like people calling up, like telling me the business.
Yeah,
right?
telling you how it works.
Telling
And
me
it's like,
how it is.
If you know how it works, why are you calling
Yeah.
me?
So a guy says, "We're down but I know that's normal because we got our website launched." And I'm like, "What? You got a new website launched and you went down in rankings?" I said, "That's not normal." I said,
That
"That's
means somebody did something wrong.
your web crew screwed up really bad." I didn't tell you the rest of that story.
Oh, okay.
That guy, maybe I did it one time, but that guy, because I still got him to call, but he's scared to do anything because he's worried that if he has new services, his
It's gonna go
his
down
rankings
again,
go down.
yeah.
Rankings don't go down when quality stuff is done.
Right.
The web crew told him that, and maybe this used to happen like years and years and years ago, right?
Yeah.
I think I think this did.
At one point, Google would be wary when a site was relaunched, like a new site was done, because they would be worried that it was actually a different business had taken it over. Because it used to be extremely common
Yeah.
for random domains to get taken over by like the porn industry and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And at
That's
one
correct.
time, you would see stuff dip when it was relaunched, and they'd watch it for a week or two and say, "Okay, this is legit."
Or, you know what else would happen? Like if we went through and changed a lot of page content in one day.
Yeah, too many changes in
we
one
would
day
get
was a red
penalized.
flag. Yeah.
That doesn't
Yeah.
happen anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this guy goes down, and the first thing that comes to mind, because I brought up the story because we're talking about 404 errors. So 404 errors are like broken pages. So Google's like, what the heck, dude? We've got like broken pages everywhere that are cached and copied in the system that are still in ranking, and you're having to send people to 404 pages. We're going to begin to penalize you.
Yeah, Google basically, that is sort of a penalty for not cleaning up your room.
That's a penalty. Yeah. Well, they're going to go down in ranking and then eventually unindex those. And if you're really, really unlucky, they'll just keep them indexed forever and keep the 404 error up forever.
And they will keep them for a long time.
Years.
Yeah, we've seen them. We've seen
Years.
pages that haven't been up for a couple of years, and there's still a reference to
Now,
them.
unfortunately, typically they're gone within 90 days. So I say unfortunately because a new web effort got on, these buffoons that did this. This guy's site was like 25 years old, right?
Yeah.
They come in, something like that, 23 years.
Yeah,
it's like
crazy.
as old as it could be almost.
Yeah.
And they come in and redo it. They break all the pages. And I told this guy, I'm like, he said, well, it went down. I said, so, red flags go up all over the place. Well, I know the ranking goes down when sites launch. I said, what? And I said, do you have 404 errors? He said, no, we fixed all those. And I'm like, what? You fixed them all? He's like, yeah, well, there were some, and then we fixed them. And I'm like, okay, so there's probably, we found one rat like immediately, so there's probably 20 more.
Exactly.
And so if the guy, now they had fixed them all, which shouldn't have happened up front because a penalty occurred.
They shouldn't have had to fix them because they should have been they should have been taken care of before they were broken.
Yeah, it's possible you would have redone the URL structuring to silo it and get it better optimization.
But you can do redirects from the get-go to take care of
Right.
that, and you never get any 404.
Now, let's say that some of you guys, anybody watching this, had this happen one time. You're like, oh God. Now here's the problem. The internal URLs are aged, and now after 90 days, most of them will actually become uncached and uncopied. And the beauty of that thing has not only hurt you with a 404, but the juice of it's gone
Right.
forever. And so that sort of stuff happens. I mean, there's all sorts of things that happen on, especially relaunches and stuff. If you have a large website, you have to be really careful that somebody competent does the work when it gets redone, right?
Right.
So all sorts of things can cause a sandbox or a penalty, or an algorithm dislike, but most likely you don't have a penalty. Most likely, and then the things that used to be penalized, the reason it's hard to call them a penalty, because if you'll just do basic work on a high quality work, you'll immediately see improvement, like
Right.
almost instantly.
We call it basic because to us it's the baseline of what we have
I
to
stopped
do.
myself.
But for everybody else, it's
Yeah.
not.
It's
Yeah.
not, listen, we do extremely high-end work. We do what we call basic work.
Right.
Which is in a realm all of, in a very small group of people in a tiny little circle can do the work to the level we do it.
Right.
And then it gets graded properly. But we do this work for clients so they show up because they're typically on a month-to-month agreement, and we keep them for years through quality work and fix this sort of stuff. If you had 404 errors or something like that, it could take 2, 3, 4 weeks or even a couple months for them to re-spider everything and knock them all out.
Especially if you had a big old site. If you got like 1,000 of those or something,
Yeah.
that takes 60 days to respider and get those.
Yeah,
get
so
those
there are some things that could take a little longer, but most of the issues that you have are just sloth and laziness by somebody, or your lack of attention on the site, or
Right.
lack of resources put into it. And once those things are fixed, a lot of this stuff will be corrected really, really quickly. So, which means you'll see your keyword rankings raise up quickly, stuff get indexed, new keywords you never had before, and organic as well as mapping. That'll pop into place as well once this stuff is fixed. Mapping will coordinate with the page's content and have your map show up more. So all kinds of stuff will rebound like rather quickly.
Right.
And any little things left, like fixing up 404 errors, is self-corrected after the redirects have been done pretty quickly.
Right.
So anyway, I don't know. Got off. I think that was a good one. That wasn't bad though. You got anything else to?
No, actually, there is one thing that can definitely be a sandbox or a penalty, and that is if your site is hacked.
Oh yeah.
Google catches that stuff pretty fast. You might have seen it in
That's
search
a good-
results before.
That is a penalty.
Where you'll see something in the search result, but Google will put like a big red text there. This site may have been hacked. And obviously, even if you show up in search ranking, if your site says that, ain't nobody going to click on it. So
Speaking of that, SSL.
oh yeah,
So go over SSL. You want to go over SSL real quick?
I can. SSL is basically just you have a certificate that's on your site that resides on the server, and the browser checks the certificate against a database, and it says that your site is secure and trustworthy. And it's not a huge, difficult thing to do. We do it for absolutely every client and all of our own sites, obviously.
We did it for years before it was required.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing that now for almost 5 years for every site.
So they only started making it mandatory like a year and a half ago or so.
Yeah, right.
And now almost none are left. But if you have an old HTTP up, you're probably going to have a severe dislike.
Yeah.
Right.
If you all other things being equal, if your competition has HTTPS and you just have HTTP on the beginning of your domain,
Yeah.
your competition is going to beat you out.
Yeah.
Because that is actually a ranking factor.
Yeah, I didn't really mean this to turn into this, but it really is all it's all the little details, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, I mean, most of our conversations turn into that because that's actually the answer. That's what
That
SEO
the
is.
answer.
SEO is not one trick. It's not one gimmick. It's this huge pile of stuff you
That
have
used
to
to
do.
be my quote, you know.
Every little detail of every little thing.
Every little detail, every little thing shall find you the promised land, I guess, right? For optimization. All right, guys. We good?
Take it easy.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.